Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and there are some things about the Epstein case that I think are important to go over and put into perspective. And largely in this video, we're going to be focusing on a piece written by Vanity Fair. But if you watch this channel, you know that in my heart of hearts, I not only believe, I know that unimaginable evil exists in this world. Things that you and I simply could not comprehend unless being first-hand witnesses happen on a daily basis. Human atrocities that are unfathomable to most. And that's why I do what I do. Because I'm not a very religious person. However, at the core of it, I do believe that in us lies something. Good and evil, those two forces, somewhere in nature, in the universe, even when you get down to the microscopic level, to me, 100% exists. Period. It's not all just learned behavior, social mores, evolution, etc. No, I believe that good and evil exists. So when I read a piece that has a lot of cojones, but then has a lot of problems as well about the Epstein case in the post-Epstein, death scenario where the entire country has basically become a conspiracy theorist. And that's why we're going to go over this whole article. Probably going to read it and break it down as we go. It could be a long one, guys. I'm not going to lie. Strap in. The Jeffrey Epstein case shows that paranoia is the only possible response to this moment. But the thing is that over the years, the many decades, we have needed a response of more questioning of what? Authoritative figures, corporations, politicians, businessmen, the media themselves, and those that pull the strings. This guy right here, T.A. Frank, I checked him out over on Twitter. I am now following. T.A., you're more than welcome to come on the program. I sure would love to talk to you about this article and the Epstein case in general, because kind of at the end of the day, unless I misinterpreted it on the first read, he says that Epstein probably did kill himself. No, sir. I'm not sure if you're misinformed on the facts, but the fact that you didn't include that Mark Epstein, his brother, has now come forward along with Michael Baden saying the first incident was not a suicide attempt and that he was in fact attacked, throws a huge monkey wrench into the whole thing. Because he was put on suicide watch after that. It seems like the fix was in from the very first failed attack. And that's a key point we have to make in this moment of paranoia. But other than that, there's a lot of really, really good stuff in here. And I'm going to break it down bit by bit, piece by piece. The news last week that Prince Andrew had been taken off all royal duties will hit hardest for those who can imagine what those duties might have been or remember which royal Andrew was. Okay, we know who Prince Andrew is, but that's only because he's a screw-up. I offer a prize to the reader who can name his little brother the Earl of Wessex. So basically saying most of us have no idea what royal duties are. And he's 100% right. And that's why I think it's important to focus on the fact that Prince Andrew and his royal family actually have power. And I've been screaming this for years, that rule by bloodline is an absurdity, and it still exists in what will become 2020 shortly, folks. Okay? And Andrew himself, again, was the arms dealer for the UK. And not only the UK, he had Canadian military prowess. Okay? But it's mainly the cause of his demotion that's important. Because it can be traced back to the deceased sexual predator. And what? Financial whiz? Blackmailer? Mossad operative? Murder victim? Jeffrey Epstein. It's been one more beat in a long sequence of news reports that touch on Epstein, yet fail to get at anything people care about most. The big mysteries. Who the hell this guy was. And I disagree. Like there are, Whitney Webb's had a really good piece on really trying to peel back the layers of the network that Epstein was a part of. It may not be perfect by any means, but I think it's excellent in many respects. How he got his money, again, Webb's done a lot of really good research into Les Wexner and his, if you don't know about him and Steve Hoffberg, Towers Capital, after Bear Stearns, that's a very important piece of the puzzle too. And we've reported on that here. And it is out there in the wild, So that's there too. What dirt he may have had on whom. And once again, if we release these documents, and guys, there was supposed to be a court hearing today. I'm not sure it went through for those 10,000 pages to be ruled on. I looked everywhere I could in the media, but I'm going to be following up and seeing if I can find that. I believe we're going to get there. And the media didn't report on the names that recently came out right before Epstein died, right? How many people focused on George Mitchell, Glenn Dubin, and especially Bill Richardson? Almost nobody. Almost nobody. Why government officials went easy on him? Again, you said Mossad operative. We know, giving information to the FBI. If you read excerpts so far of that Dead Men Tell No Tales, it looks like he may have worked with other intelligence agencies, as I've suspected all along. Why no one has found his associate Ghislaine Maxwell, huge question, agree, remain as unsolved as they were months ago. In that respect, I can't really disagree, though. All those questions were out there months ago. Now, this is where he goes hard, man. And I'm like, wow, okay. All right, T.A. Frank, bringing it hard. All of this is perfect fodder for anyone with the paranoid view of the world, but increasingly, that's all of us. Just this past month, we could read that a Spanish security company managed to film and record Julian Assange in almost every room of Ecuador's embassy in London, allegedly passing on its files to the CIA via security officials employed by GOP kingmaker Sheldon Adelson at the Las Vegas Sands Casino. Yes, he even mentions Sheldon Adelson in this. It's huge, man. And Assange. And he talks about the CIA spying through private contractors. All really good stuff, TA. We learned that Donald Trump and his cronies were just the latest and crudest grifters in the case of Republican and Democratic sleazeballs using Ukraine as everything from puppet to plunder buffer, all in a haze of disinformation as thick as Hunter Biden's beard. Now in there, I'm a little bit disagreeing, but at the same time, he is showing that, look, he's not saying Trump's the only corrupt one there, and he's correct. We've reported on that, and Joey B bragging about it before the CFR. And here it is right here. Again, not a lot of Western media outlets touching this. We could read that 2 whistleblowers from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons were claiming that the organization distorted its assessment that Syria's government had carried out a chemical attack in the Syrian town of Douma. Again, we've been covering that. Crickets in the mainstream media. This guy brought it up. And we could see horrifying illustrations by prisoner Abu Zubaydah of the brutality he experienced in CIA black sites. Again, we talk about black sites. We talk about Abu Ghraib here. We talk about Guantanamo Bay. We talk about how they're not good things that are holding secret people in secret indictments, so the deep state can get taken down. No, they're a tool of that permanent state. All right? So a lot of good stuff here, T.A. Frank. It's no wonder that half of Americans think Epstein didn't kill himself, leaving only the other half who think the same thing but won't say it. A lot of humor in this. You gotta love it. The outliers are journalists who not only believe the official story, but insist the rest of us do too. Okay, I exaggerate. Both about my fellow journalists and about the likelihood that Epstein's death involved foul play. See, this is where it flips a little bit. He says he's joking that most journalists thinks he didn't kill himself, but he's one of those that does think that he probably did kill himself. And here's the quotations. Given that no one was caught on camera going in or out, we don't know that. The tapes have been confiscated. They could be easily edited. We have 2 camera malfunctions on top of it. We don't know who was in and out of there in the days and months before. Period. it's frankly unlikely that Epstein was murdered, even if it's not impossible. Trust me. Trust me, TA, it's not impossible. Again, the idea that he was put on suicide watch after being attacked, according to his brother, sends red flags all over every part of the story. But one of the sadder developments of our time is that journalists seem, on the whole, to be getting less skeptical of authorities. I agree with this. With half of MSNBC looking as if it's staffed by retired spooks and legacy newspapers citing political activists as if they're disinterested analysts, even as most Americans are going in the opposite direction. Rather than convincing the public to ease up on the growing wave of distrust, the prestige press has instead joined countless other institutions in reputational erosion. I agree. I'm enough inside the tent of American journalism to know that hungry reporters have been drawn to the Epstein case. The fact that British outlets are saying more is due mainly to nonchalance about standards. Sure, it's juicy that Bill Clinton is reported by the Daily Mail to have visited Epstein's ranch in New Mexico multiple times, but the source is a guy who says he was told it by another guy. That's true. We reported on that. You know, Jared Kellogg, who's the IT guy, says I believe it was Bryce Gordon who gave him that information. So we always peel back the layers here. We always peel back the layers. But it is undisputed, as we talked about, that Chelsea Clinton had Ghislaine Maxwell at their wedding. That's not disputable, right? And really quickly, apparently Trump was asked about his relationship with Prince Andrew, and he doesn't know the Duke. He knows the Duke. Here's Trump with Ghislaine Maxwell at a hookers and pimps party that Prince Andrew is also at. There he is at Mar-a-Lago. And by the way, I reported on it back in June when he was visiting the UK. It was Trump and Andrew hanging out on a golf course. So to say he doesn't know him, in June he knew him just fine. Okay? 6 months ago he knew him just fine. Even with all that Epstein stuff, it was still breaking them. You know, go watch my reports from 6 months ago, man. The real deal. So, you know, you can't just say, well, he's playing 86D chess. No, he's covering his own ass too. And he was when he was meeting with him in June. Just with the Acosta situation. Everything is calculated, guys. So, you know, I think that those reports of Clinton and Hillary at that ranch are probably true, just like Chelsea Clinton also traveled and vacationed with Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay? Pulitzer won't come a-knocking. He's making fun of the source within a source. At the same time, you have to wonder, why has there still been no exhaustive unmasking by the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, ProPublica, or for that matter, this or another major magazine? Thank you. I like how he throws Vanity Fair in there. He's like, hey, why aren't we putting money behind it? Where's the sense of urgency? When the right-wing outfit Project Veritas put out a leak, newscaster Amy Robach complaining that ABC had quashed her Epstein scoop for years, mentioning Alan Dershowitz and Bill Clinton, and adding what we had was unreal, outlets like the New York Times, the CNN ignored it. And the few journalists who did bring it up concentrated most on whether ABC had been justified or craven. Fewer seemed to pursue the question that preoccupied much of Twitter and the comment section. Well, what did Robach have? Can she tell us now? Well, let me say this. Once again, guys, she had a lot, but a lot of it was out there in Filthy Rich by James Patterson and I believe Mike Malloy. Was it Mike Malloy? Mike Malloy might have been the other guy that helped him write that. My point being that every media outlet had access to that book and that information, and then could have done their own investigation on top of it all the way back in 2016 when she was talking about it. This was a cover-up throughout the media. Fox, MSNBC, all of them knew. All of them. It wasn't just ABC, CBS, etc. That's my point. So it is that more and more Americans are drawn to conspiracy theory, a term I do not use as a pejorative. After all, any incident of secret coordination is a conspiracy, and any story we tell about it is, at least implicitly, implicitly a theory. Thank you. I agree with this. Again, well written, well thought out. I don't know how you could possibly think that Epstein killed himself, TA. TA, come on the show. Let's tweet at TA Frank this video and get him to come on and talk about this and Epstein all together, because a lot of this stuff is great, right? The trouble is that most conspiracy theories, at least the sort that aren't universally accepted, are wrong, simply because of the nature of odds. Every good investigator tries on and discards countless theories in a course of work. But all of them, save one, will be incorrect. Anyone who could have disbelieved, although few of us did, claims by George W. Bush, White House, that Saddam Hussein was hiding a large cache of WMDs and that the U.S. government knew where they were. I never bought it. A lot of us never bought it. Okay? But few are the minds who could have come up with the notion that Saddam Hussein's regime had destroyed its WMDs while pretending that it hadn't in order to scare Tehran. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, and when he's talking about they actually destroyed those WMDs, all right? He's saying it's true. I can't verify this. It's a conspiracy that makes very little sense, yet happens to have been true. In most cases, our conspiracy theories are wrong. The problem with our news predictions or predilections towards self-directed detective work, the tragic one, is that conspiracy theories are the product of lost trust. When you have a reason to doubt the official story, or even the basic decency of those who are telling it, you'll be hard-pressed to avoid formulating alternative possibilities. We shouldn't be trusting the authorities out there. They lie to us again and again and again, especially in this case. Because the reputation of our press has been as much in decline as that of any authority, it can do little to quell even the stupidest ideas. That's why our news outlets have done better at disseminating bad notions rather than debunking them. And this is where I agree 100%. That's one reason Americans continue to believe that Trump had secret channels to Moscow in 2016 and worked with Russian intelligence to steal the election. No matter how long and deeply federal investigators worked without success at finding evidence of it. It's also why a smaller but still troubling number of Americans continue to believe that Trump is on a calculated mission to uproot a corporate, malevolent deep state, no matter how high up his bumbling and screw-ups manage to pile. And I don't know what that is, Preve. Let's look at that. So I got to agree. Listen, Russiagate's a hoax, guys. They were spying on him before that. I think that's a big part that he kind of left out there that's a problem. And they were setting him up, and they knew it. And they couldn't find anything because there was never anything there. It was a perjury trap. That's how they got everybody else out there. And I don't think that's a conspiratorial view. I don't think that can be contested in any way. Now, when I was talking to Ray McGovern yesterday on Action for Assange, and by the way, thumbs the video up, guys. Share it with others. Subscribe to the Burns Brigade if you're new to this. When I was talking to McGovern yesterday, he talked about the possibility of Brennan, Clapper, Comey, and others being indicted. And I was just like, look, man, I don't know that he can do it. And then he started talking about JFK and the fact that Trump couldn't bring the documents out. And I said, yes, twice. So my point being, if you can't expose the deep state from 50 years ago, how are you going to expose the deep state now? I just don't see it. And so it is troubling. You have this whole swath of Americans that are dangerous because they believe this idea that, Trump is some kind of a Putin puppet. And then you have another swath of Americans that think that Trump has a superhero cape on and, Bill Barr is Batman and Robin's coming in and they're gonna fix everything. And neither is true. He's right. When you lose faith in your institutions, the world looks sinister. It is sinister, man. It is sinister. Sometimes this leads to political revolution and the rise of a strong man. Fortunately, Donald Trump has more in common with Rufus T. Firefly, I don't know who that is, than with effective dictators who tend to be disciplined fanatics. The more prevalent response is apathy or cynicism, and both are tempting, especially amid an abundance of laugh or cry style news. It's altogether perfect that lawyer David Boies, famous lately for having done his best to bully anyone who got in the way of sociopaths like Harvey Weinstein and Elizabeth Holmes. Yes, David Boies was Weinstein's fixer and lawyer for a long time. Not a good person. Guess what? Has now switched into the reputation washing lane for a spell and begun to represent some of Epstein's accusers, pro bono, by the way. All but not without some ethical hiccups. And that's talking about his case with Roberts and Dershowitz and what's going on there. And remember, that's the case we're waiting on, those defamation cases regarding Roberts and having all of those documents come out. So again, we're going to be on that as soon as we know anything. The players switch sides, white hats or black hat, and the game continues. Exactly. What's next for David Boies? One half expects to learn he has been a lawyer for Ghislaine Maxwell. And then he'll have to pick an even better case as penance. There isn't much evidence to suggest the loose faith gets restored or the paranoia fades away, at least not for the individuals. It looks more like a new generation comes along and in a blissful obliviousness sets a happier mood. You know, he talks about the post 9/11 era here and how trusting we were, and talks about China a little. I'm just saying, there's 2 paragraphs left here. I'm going to wrap it up because we've been going for 20 minutes. Oh, he's right. Think about it. They all play the same game. Barr's telling you he didn't kill himself either. All right? Trump stood up there with Acosta after he gave a disaster press conference and made him resign. These are real things. We couldn't keep the guy alive. So, I'm just putting it out there. You got to watch what you believe. Dead Men Tell No Tales is going to be interesting. But I've questioned some of these people and some of these reports because he's right. They're probably not all true. There is disinformation out there. This man was very wealthy and involved with very wealthy people and people in the media that know how to put disinfo out. It's not just suppression. So we all got to be just a wee bit careful. A wee bit. Guys, if you like this video, thumbs it up, share it with others. If you're not subscribed, join the Burmese Brigade right now. We're doing it 3 to 7 times a day on multiple subjects. You can watch all of my documentary films, all of my work, for free in the documentaries playlist, by the way. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Key in Understanding 9/11, Invisible Empire and New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture, all free right here. And if you want to support me financially, $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. It's December. It's a white Christmas outside. I'm getting out there in the blizzard, giving you a blizzard of information, not about partisan politics, not about propagated lies, but about the truth. I absolutely love you guys. Thank you for everything, and I will see you on the flip side.